Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to Poetry Thursday. We're slowly making our way through this 20th century American poetry. I got locked into this anthology for Poetry Thursday, and we're just going to stick with it until we get to the end of the world. Until we get to the end of the world in terms of 20th century American poetry, which still exists. It is still published. I still get copies of it from publishers. But as an active living genre, it ended. It doesn't exist anymore. And the 20th century in America is when it ended, and it ended, in my argument, with one school of poetry and one particular poem. But we're not there yet. We have a ways to go. We have probably the rest of the year to go. So today we are up to a precursor, a wise old father figure to that particular movement, but not an epitome of the movement itself. Kenneth Rexroth is the name of the poet that we're reading today, who was a strange and flighty but upright and moral man, and also a deeply respected literary history, literary culture, not just in the English language but in the ancient world. He deeply knew those things and he deeply respected them, and that is not compatible with the poetry school that I'm thinking of, the poetry school that is heading towards us like a slow motion howitzer shell. So with Rexroth's poetry, you won't get the excesses that I'm thinking of, the excesses that we encountered just a bit of last time around. Instead, you'll get genuine poetry. The problem here for Poetry Thursday is that a lot of his best poems tend to be longer than I typically read in these little videos. Like, for instance, our editors in this volume give us 5 poems, and only one of them is short. So we're going to read that one. Or no, 2 of them are short, but one of the short ones is a little dumb. So we'll read one of the other of the short ones. This is called Andre Rexroth. This was his. Rexroth married a number of times. I don't remember how many times, like 2 or 3, more than that maybe. And he would divorce and then marry again. He would divorce and then marry again. He managed to stay friends with almost everyone, including ex-wives. And this particular ex-wife died shortly after their divorce. And he wrote a poem about that with her name, and then the subscript is died October 1940. I think they divorced a few years before that. And this is the poem. Now once more gray mottled buckeye branches explode their emerald stars, and alders smolder in a rosy smoke of innumerable buds. I know that spring again is splendid, as ever, the hidden thrush as sweetly tongued, the sun as vital, but these are the forest trails we walked together, these paths 10 years before. We thought the years would last forever. They are all gone now. The days we thought would not come for us are here. Bright trout poised in the current, raccoons' tracks on the water's edge, a bittern booming in the distance. Your ashes scattered on this mountain, moving seaward on this stream. I think that's lovely, absolutely lovely. The natural imagery pulls you forward into a kind of remembrance. The narrator of the poem is saying to you, to the object of the poem, these are the times we thought would never come for us. These are the days we thought were in the future. And then, like a hammer blow, your ashes. Then we realize in the course of the poem, if you didn't read the title, we realize in the course of the poem that the addressee is dead. And that the narrator of the poem cannot feel the newness, the renewal of spring that they felt for years together. I think it's of course very, very familiar ground when it comes to poetry, but I think it's lovely. And it'll do for Kenneth Rexroth. I cannot recommend strongly enough Rexroth's collected works, not his collected verse. I do recommend his collected verse. I don't know that there's been a really handsome or well-annotated version of it in quite some time, certainly not in the 21st century. I don't think he's reprinted at all in the 21st century. But he also had a literary column. Like so many other people in this anthology, he was on and off a book reviewer, and got a regular book column, which is a wonderful gig to get if you can have it. Of course, nowadays anybody can have a book column. As long as you're content with not being paid for it, anybody can have a book column. But once upon a time, it was a hard thing to get. I only had a book column 2 or 3 times in 2 or 3 different places. And he had one for a long time, wrote about anything at all. And the column was called Classics Revisited. And I believe that the one reprint collection of those columns that I know of was also titled Classics Revisited. And it's very much worth your time. Very much. There might be other reprints of his columns. He wrote a lot. But I think he's largely underserved in terms of, for instance, collected letters or collected nonfiction, or even a really good, new, scholarly, thoroughly annotated, biographically updated collected verse. If such things exist, they are products of the 20th century, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, not a failure at all, not a stumble in any way. So we'll take our victories as we can get them, and we'll move on next time. And I will see you then. Thank you, BookTube.